Welcome back to another how-to video. This is a new series where once a month I make a how-to video showing you guys how to navigate this hobby like a pro. Today we're going to be talking about how to store and protect all of your sealed products, your raw cards, your graded cards, everything when it comes to Pokemon. And we are going to do a little giveaway today. All you have to do is make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like, and then I want you to comment your favorite bug Pokemon. I know random, but I think it'd be fun. We're going to be giving away these cards today. We got a Japanese Tyranitar, Cricketune, got a couple classic collections, and the new King Gambit promo. And then we do have to announce the winner from last Sunday's giveaway, and that was at Doc Holiday. So just shoot me an email or hit me up on Instagram, and I'll get those cards sent out to you. And we do have to give a big thanks to our video sponsor real quick, and that is Platinum Protectors, which we will be talking about today in this video. If you guys want to actually protect your collection, Platinum Protectors is where it's at. They got stuff for action figures, comic books, die-cast, Funko Pops, trading cards, and video games. And when it comes to trading cards, they have so many different products. They got stuff for Lorcana, One Piece, Japanese Pokemon. They got all different price points too. You know, they got cases where it's literally $2 a case, or they have cases where it's, $20 a case with the nice thick acrylic and the magnetic top. And if you click my link in the description, you receive 10% off your first order of $50 or more. So definitely check them out. But all right, let's get into it. So we're going to start off with cards because that is the most important thing. So I'm not a fan of perfect fit sleeves at all. A lot of times they're really, really hard to get the cards out of the sleeves. So I'd probably stay away from them if you can. I think they're a little bit overkill. Now, my favorite regular sleeves are the Dragon Shield Clear Classic sleeves, not a sponsor, but these things are thick. Like if I had a card sleeved in that, I would feel confident for me to like throw it across the room. You know, they're kind of meant to be played with almost, but I'm a real big fan of those. So if you have your cards in these in a binder, you're good to go. And honestly, any sleeves work, but if you want to, protect it a little bit extra and you don't want to do like a top loader binder or anything, I feel like this is the perfect, in between. And then when we're actually talking about binders, there's a lot of different brands. I'd say Voltex is the most popular brand, but again, don't overpay a ton, on the secondary market to get a certain Voltex binder. It's really not worth it. Nobody really cares what binder you have unless they're like a Voltex, nut. But I mean, BCW has really good binders. And then even Card Prison. This is Rock Sandy's binder. He's another fellow YouTuber, only 18 years old, but this binder holds, top loaded cards and it holds raw cards. So, that's another cool, unique binder. So there's a lot of different binders. And I do have the link for this binder in my description. I don't make any money off of it at all. But, Roxandy's such a nice guy, and it's a very cool, unique binder. Now let's talk about top loader binders. So I vend, and you have no idea how many people I see complain, or even other vendors complain when people hand them these giant, oversized top loader binders. So I would really, really stick with just, the 9-pocket binders. I mean, you could do 12 pocket, but I mean, with a top loader binder, that's where it gets, really big and heavy. And another thing you guys have to remember, you guys have to lug this thing around at all the card shows. So if I were to do a top loader binder, I would just do a 9-pocket top loader binder, or even, a 4-pocket top loader binder. I feel like a lot of people stay away from those binders, and I feel like they're perfectly fine. I know these aren't top loader binders. I'm just on this page. Now, I do like the zip binders much more than the straps. I'd probably stay away from just a strap binder, especially for your nice personal collection. Zip's better. I've had a leak before. It wasn't terrible, but I did have some cards in not zip up binders, and a couple cards did get wet. So that does suck. So I definitely stick with the zip. And here's another thing I see a ton of people do. You'll see these crazy collections on Instagram and stuff where they'll have, 100 different binders laid out across everything. And then you want to go do the same thing. So you want to start all these master sets. So you go spend hundreds of dollars on a bunch of super nice binders for all these different sets. Odds are you're not going to finish those master sets. I know it's rough to hear, but a lot of times they don't. Trust me, I've bought, no joke, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of half-completed master sets because people just give up. They either fall out of the hobby or it just gets too expensive or they want to collect something else. So just don't overspend on binders right away. If you want to do master sets, just get some, cheap ones or whatever, or just put them all in one binder right now until you actually get a good amount of cards, and then you can spend some money on the actual binders. I'll even have people show me pictures of their collections, and it looks crazy because they got, 50 binders, and then I'll ask them, and then it's like 98% of them are uncompleted sets, to where I could have one binder, and I'll have more value in that one binder alone than 20 of your uncompleted, master sets. So just buy cards or sealed products first, then let's worry about the other products. But all right, let's jump to some top loaders. Now, if you put a card in a sleeve in a top loader, that is 100% totally fine. They even make really nice little boxes that holds a ton of them. Or you can get the really nice cases like Zion has, which holds graded cards or top loader cards. But that's literally all you need. Top loader is plenty. And then they do have the semi-rigid, which, that's more for like sending your cards out to PSA and stuff. They prefer those over the top loaders because, they can get the cards out much easier. I think they just cut them. I'm not 100% sure on that. But these are not as, sturdy as a top loader. You can definitely put your cards in these, just you got to be a little bit more careful than you would with top loaders. But, they make boxes for this too. They got storage boxes and stuff all over. There's a ton of different boxes and top loaders. You don't have to get BCW. You can get whatever brand you want. But, that's a very solid way. I know it doesn't look super fancy or anything, but if you got a ton of cards, it's a good option for sure. All right, now let's jump to Zion. So this is probably the most popular brand when it comes to, storage cases for your cards and stuff. There's other brands. You can get whatever storage case you want, but this is probably just the most well-known. And these do work really good. I got a couple of these. I got a few other brands also, but it's really nice to bring them to card shows for your higher end slabs and stuff. Just be careful though. If you misplace it or leave it somewhere, someone will definitely pick it up. A lot of them do have locks and stuff, but I mean, if they get it home, they'll be able to open it up eventually. But good option. You can even hold top loader cards in there too, or whatever you need. So that's pretty good. But again, get a bunch of cards first before you spend a bunch of money on these super expensive cases. Next, we're going to be talking about graded cards. So at the very least, if you guys buy graded cards, you guys need to get the graded card sleeves. There's a bunch of different brands that make this. They're really nice, and then your slabs won't get all scratched up. Because I'm telling you, if someone has a slab and it's all scratched up, 90% of the people are not going to want that slab. I see so many people bring me, graded cards at card shows, and they're just, in no sleeves. And these are very cheap too. It's like, you get 100 of them for $8. Next, we have graded guard. Now, I like graded guards. There's other brands also, but graded guard is definitely the most popular. But I think it makes the slabs pop for sure. But same exact scenario as the binder thing. If you guys do not have a ton of graded cards or super high-end graded cards, please do not be spending crazy money on these graded guards. Buy the cards first, and then when you're done with the collection, then you can, deck it out and make it look cooler. But I have seen people spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on graded guards. And I literally asked the one guy, how many graded cards do you have? And he said he had 9. 9 graded cards the guy had. And I asked him his most expensive graded card. And I think he said the Salamence from Journey Together. So the guy was literally spending as much money on graded guards as he was on the actual cards that we're collecting. So just please grow your collection first, finish that. And then at the end, if you guys want to get some graded guards or whatever it is, then you can deck your cards out. All right, next we're going to be talking about sealed products. Like I mentioned, Platinum Protectors. There's other companies too that have a ton of different products. These guys just probably have the most when it comes to Pokemon. And like I said, there's 2 different types of cases. The cheaper ones where you're literally paying $2 a case, I think they work totally fine. I wouldn't put your crazy high-end booster boxes or your ETBs in there probably. I'd probably do the nicer acrylic cases. And you can even find some of this stuff on Amazon really cheap or eBay sometimes. But I think these work really good, especially if you're packing all these away in a tote, which we're going to be talking about totes here in a minute. But yeah, I think these are great, especially at just a couple dollars a case. And then these are the thicker ones here where, they're very nice. We got the magnetic tops. And you can definitely see them a little bit better, I feel like. The actual sealed collectible in there than the cheaper cases. But yeah, $28 and $30. And then they also make booster pack magnetic holders. But these are really cool, especially nowadays. Sealed products are so expensive. Some people might only have a booster pack display to where, let's see how much a 10-pack is. A 10-pack is $34.98, so a little expensive, but they're really nice thick ones. And then even Target has those bins with like the white top, which work really good for ETBs. I just don't like them because I don't like the white top or whatever. It bugs me in my OCD, so I'd rather do the completely clear ones. But yeah, there's a ton of different options. And then when we're actually talking about putting our sealed collection on display or in storage, bubble wrap is a very good friend. It's nice to just line stuff with that, if you're going to do it in a tote or anything like that, especially if you do not have cases. If you do not have any cases at all and you don't want to buy any, definitely wrap everything up nicely in bubble wrap and then store it. And you'll thank me later because it'll definitely help a ton. Now, there's two different type of totes that I have used that I like. Now, there's the U-line straight wall container. Now, I like these. You do have to buy the top separately because it's completely flat on the inside. So my OCD just loves it. I can fit everything in there perfectly, but they're not waterproof. Now, odds are you probably don't really need them to be waterproof if you're storing them in, good places, but you never know. I'm extremely paranoid. So they do make waterproof, totes that are like gasket sealed with the lids, but then it's your regular tote where it's not, completely flat on the inside and stuff. But I have, both of these totes and I like them both. Now I store my stuff in an actual storage unit that's like temperature controlled. Otherwise the rest of the stuff is in my house. But I know a lot of people, they're in extreme heat or extreme cold. So if you're going to be storing stuff in totes, they make the silica packets, which controls the moisture and stuff. So yeah, if it's a little damp or anything like that where you're storing your stuff, this stuff works great. Otherwise, if it's crazy humid, some of these humidity packs work pretty good. I think the 49% one is probably the best for what we're doing. But like I said, I don't have to worry about that too much because I have everything, temperature controlled. But I know some people can't. So I just thought I'd throw those in there for sure. And another thing I see a ton of people do, even YouTubers that have ETBs just stacked on top of these metal wire shelves, there will be dents at the bottom of your ETBs and your UPCs and booster boxes and stuff sometimes. So I like to, put a little cardboard on all of these if you're going to do that, if you're going to display those. So you just have to be really mindful of stuff like that, especially if you keep stacking boxes on top and over time, it'll definitely leave little indents. I've seen it many, many times. And another thing too, when it comes to the extreme temperatures that can help is if you keep your stuff off the ground, maybe not against a wall, just have it, up somewhere. And then also if you have mice or anything like that, and let's say you're not using totes or you're using just cardboard boxes or whatever it is, better chance of them not getting in there. So you just have to think about anything that's possible that could ruin these things, and then you got to prepare for it. And then too, with a lot of these cases now, from Platinum Protectors and stuff, they're all UV and scratch resistant. But sometimes if you get some stuff off Amazon, it isn't. So be careful, because if you display a bunch of sealed collectibles and you have a window in there, they can definitely start fading, which will affect the value for sure. And another thing I want to talk about is safes. Most safes that you get at Walmart or anything, they won't actually protect your collection in there. If there's a real house fire, even a really, really good safe, the chance of everything coming out perfect is pretty slim. It really depends on how big the fire is. So that's why I like my storage units. If you really think about it and you do the research, there's almost no fires ever in storage units, but there's fires in people's houses every single day. So that's why I don't completely rely on a safe, it's just foolproof. It will definitely help too, especially if there's a small fire or anything like that. It can definitely protect. So I'm not saying don't get a safe. I'm just saying it's not 100% foolproof. Now, other things too that I want to mention before I end the video, collection boxes. Please be careful with collection boxes. I strongly suggest, since they don't really make cases for them, wrapping them up in bubble wrap, because a lot of times the little edges and stuff that sticks out, they get messed up or the corners get messed up. So if you have really nice collection boxes, put a nice thing of bubble wrap around them, and that will help a ton. I have personally dented probably 30 or 40 collection boxes in my day. Same with ETBs, booster boxes, everything. I've, dented and dropped them all. So that's why it's nice to just have them in cases so you don't have to worry about them as much. And the last thing that I want to mention is if anybody does buy any cases for any of their sealed products, just please be careful putting your sealed product in the case actually, because I see a lot of people ruin it or tear it just trying to get it inside of the case, because a lot of them are pretty tight. So just please be careful when you're doing that. But all right, I think I covered everything. If there is anything that I missed, please let me know down below so that way people can come here just for your one-stop shop for all your information when it comes to actually storing and protecting your collectibles. So if you guys like this content, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. If you guys want to support more, you guys can check out my Instagram, my TikTok, or my YouTube membership. It's only 99 cents a month. But all right, I want you guys to have a great day. And if you guys want to watch my last vending video where I had some of the nicest people I've ever seen in the hobby come up to my table and give me a couple things, watch this video here. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.